lawmakers haven't really signed on yet, the Democrats, to the governor's proposed millionaires tax. And then there's the president's tax plan, which has limited deductions for New Jerseyans on state and local taxes. Putting all of that together, Governor Kean, you've led through crisis. What's a governor to do in this situation?
Well, what he should not do is have an enormous tax increase, because we're in competition. We're in competition with New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, the Connecticut states around us. And if our taxes get too far out of line with theirs, we lose jobs, we lose people, and we decline as a state. So you've got to keep your taxes in line with other people, and we're already, on the income tax side, a little out of line. We've already got an income tax that's higher than it should be.
But what about this governor who's proposing these tax increases to balance the budget and the promises he's made in the campaign? Everything from free community college tuition to full funding for education, full funding for pensions, and an increase in the minimum wage.
Look, I like this governor. He's a good human being. And he's proposed things that I support. But you can't, just like a family, you can't do everything you want to do unless you've got the money to pay for it. We don't have the money to pay for it right now, and we don't have a legitimate way of raising the money without jeopardizing the state and its future. If you really raise if you raise the tax on millionaires, so-called, you'll drive them out. I mean, and we don't know how fast or how many. It's like a blind man walking toward the edge of a cliff, and you don't know how close that cliff is. And you don't know how much you can increase those taxes, particularly giving the tremendous federal tax increase that these people have just gotten, before they just up and leave. And they pay such a large portion of our taxes in New Jersey because they're so professional. As they leave, the state loses a lot of money, and the rest of us have got to pick that up.
There were indications that the Senate President, Steve Sweeney, would go along with the millionaires tax, but he says not so fast now.
Well, that's because he's a realist. The Senate President has seen the fact that the Trump Congress tax, whatever it is, has hit the particular class that they want to hit very, very hard. And on that basis alone, we're losing some people. I mean, we lost in tax revenue, according to the IRS, $100 million last year because of people moving out. Now, you can't take too much more of that. You lose more money than you make. So you've got to, I know it's hard, you've got to look at the spending side. You've got to figure maybe there's some cuts you have to make there. You don't want to make them, but maybe if you want these new priorities, which are worthwhile, then look at some of the things you're doing now. You just can't do anymore.
With all of the governor's pledges, does that take away some of his flexibility in this budget?
If the governor tries to do them all at once, then it certainly does. But hopefully he won't do that. Some of these will be plans for the future, and he'll cut other money out of the budget, or he'll get some new revenue in order to put them together, so eventually he can do these things. But you can't do them all at once, and you can't do them right away the first year.
Well, part of the governor's proposals include an increase in the sales tax back to 7%, which it used to be. But in doing that, now we're learning of this so-called taxpayer's safeguard, so that if the sales tax does go back up, the gasoline tax, which passed at 23 cents increase a gallon, has to disappear.
Yeah. Well, the legislature did this purposely. The legislature said, because people got up on the floor, if you remember the debate, and said, you know, what's the point of giving this decline in the sales tax when the next governor may put it right back? And we're not going to vote for the gas tax if that happens. And so they said, oh, we're putting a safeguard. If the legislature and the governor put it back, then you lose the gas tax. And that's in the bill, and it was put in just last year. So it's very hard for the legislature now to reverse itself and say, okay, and repeal both provisions. They could do it, and they may do it, because they may see the priorities now are more important, but it's a difficult thing to do, reverse yourself that fast.
Could all of this lead to a standoff come July 1? The clock is ticking.
Well, yes, it could. Last time you had a Democratic legislature, Democratic governor, you had a standoff, and it went into July with Governor Corzine. So it could happen. But sooner or later, people have to come together, and they will come together. But they've got to, hopefully they'll come together not just in a political solution, but in a solution that really helps the state, and helps the state to build on a base and move on to the future.
Governor Kean, thank you for giving us some perspective on this issue.
Thank you, Ken.